Have you found that it is a challenge for you to fall asleep, but once you fall asleep, then you sleep the rest of the night, you sleep fine the rest of the night? Well, then you may have thought, I have sleep onset insomnia. And this is today's topic. So if sounds familiar to you, well, this is the video that was made specifically for you. And it was actually by request. Somebody last week, I forgot to take a screenshot, so I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked for a sleep onset insomnia video. And I was kind of shocked to see that I hadn't done this already. So thanks for the tip. And we'll jump right into today's topic right now. So again, we're going to talk about sleep onset insomnia. And I tried to look just before starting to record this if there was any type of definition, an ICD-10 International Classification of Diseases Disorders classification of this, but there wasn't any. But I think we all know what what it refers to when we say sleep onset insomnia. It's when somebody struggles with falling asleep initially at first time we go to bed, etc. Right? So that's sleep onset insomnia without further specification. And oftentimes it's the things I hear from clients, followers, etc. is often something like this: like, once I've fallen asleep, I can sleep the rest of the night. There's no problem then. Once I've fallen asleep, there's no problem. Or something like this: if I can only figure out how to sleep faster or sooner, then my problem is solved. Naturally, that becomes the natural idea when we define sleep on insomnia. It's like trouble falling asleep, because then the idea, of course, becomes, okay, so if I just figure out how to do that, fall asleep in the initial part of the night, then the rest will be fine, right? And in this video, we're going to talk about how that happens. And I smile when I say how that happens, because again, it's not like we can make ourselves fall asleep, but we can learn things that lead to this happening, right? So I've divided this talk into 3 sections. First, okay, a little bit more on what is sleep onset insomnia, and then number 2, what makes it different from other types of insomnia, and then 3, what to do. So let's start with number 1. What I am realizing I made is a big typo. No, I haven't actually. What it is, or what is it? What it is, I think both work. So what it is the following. Insomnia really is just a fear of being awake. Any type of insomnia is a fear of being awake. And whatever prefix you put in front of it, it really is that. Because if we were not scared of being awake, then it would just be wakefulness. In fact, I just wrote a tweet the other week that said, fear is the difference between wakefulness and insomnia. Because if you don't have that fear, then we're just awake, right? But when we're scared of being awake, then we have insomnia, then we have problem solving and trying not to be awake. And I also said in that tweet, when the fear goes away, then things reverse again. When the fear is gone, then insomnia just becomes being awake, right? So anyway, insomnia equals the fear of being awake. So then the natural question becomes, okay, so what is the difference between sleep onset insomnia and, let's say, sleep maintenance insomnia? Well, what makes a difference is really the timing of when we're scared, the timing of the fear, if you will. So if we are particularly scared of not sleeping, scared of being awake in the evening, then we will experience insomnia as sleep onset insomnia. However, if we're mostly scared when we wake up in the middle of the night, if that's when we're scared of being awake, then we will experience insomnia as sleep maintenance insomnia. And sort of like the big point here, the teaching point I want to make, is that there's actually there's no principal difference between sleep onset and sleep maintenance insomnia. It's just different manifestations in terms of the timing of when we're scared. And here's something that I think is really, really helpful to know. And it is that nobody doesn't wake up after they've fallen asleep that initial time. We can often have this idea that other people, they fall asleep, or ourselves, sleep onset insomnia actually is we have this idea that, oh yeah, it takes us a long time to fall asleep, that's very stressful, etc. But once we fall asleep, we sleep the whole night, which actually isn't true. All humans wake up multiple times per hour. We have many arousals, awakenings per hour. But when we aren't scared of that, then we just kind of wake up, scan the surroundings, see that we're safe, which is a very basic, fundamental, behavior of the human brain, to just wake up, scan the surrounding, make sure we're safe. And if there's nothing threatening around us, we fall back asleep, and we don't remember it. We typically don't remember it. But when we've had this fear of being awake, then what happens is we have the normal awakening that all humans have many times per hour. Or the normal awakening, we scan the surroundings, and we find that we're awake, and we see like, oh my gosh, I'm awake. That is now the threat. There's this confusion in the brain that being awake is a threat, right? So we wake up, which is normal. We find that we're awake, we become scared, and then we become really alert, and we have sleep maintenance insomnia. So the point here I'm trying to make is that actually, if you've experienced sleep onset insomnia, it means that you actually are not scared of being awake when it happens after you've fallen asleep, which we'll see when we go to number 3. That I think that's really, really helpful to see. So number 3 is what to do, and I put it as an A and B, like 2 things here. And A is what I just said. See that you, if you have sleep onset insomnia, you actually are not scared of being awake when you wake up at night. There is a part in, during the night when you're not scared of being awake, and there's a part where you're scared of being awake. So you're scared of being awake in the evening when you're kind of going to bed, but you're not scared of it when you wake up at night. And that can be helpful to see, because then you see like, aha, there is already a part of the night where I'm not scared of being awake. So that can teach the brain that, oh, maybe I don't have to be scared of it in the evening either. So that's really helpful to see. And again, this means that being awake later on is already okay to you, right? So I think that is really helpful. And B here is, I have a sort of a favorite analogy that I use when people ask me about sleep onset insomnia, and it is about like when we boil milk. I've experienced this myself. Maybe you have too. It's when we're like standing over the pot, waiting for the milk to boil. It literally feels like it takes, I don't know, half an hour. No, it feels like it takes a really long time. And often we're tempted to say, okay, I'll come back. I'll just go do something else for a second. But when we do, then almost invariably we come back, and the whole thing is just spilled over. And it's a burnt mess, which shows us kind of like how the perception of time changes depending on what we're doing. So if we're just intently waiting for something to happen, it's very frustrating, and it feels like it takes forever. When we're not waiting anymore, it feels like time just flies by, and it's not frustrating at all. So the point here is that when you turn waiting into something that meaningful or even enjoyable, that changes everything. It really does. Because if you're like, okay, now it's evening and I'm gonna go to bed, and you go to bed, and you, instead of being like, okay, let's see how long it's gonna take this time, let's see if I can sleep. If you instead go like, okay, now I'm in bed, it's very nice and cozy. Now I'm gonna enjoy this book, or now I'm gonna watch some Netflix. Now I'm gonna have a real nice time in the evening. Then there is no more sleep onset insomnia, because then wakefulness is actually something you enjoy. So I think this is maybe the most helpful thing to know when you've had a sleep onset insomnia. And now, final thing here I want to say is that if we go back, I want to kind of rephrase these common statements into what I think into what I think is actually more true, which is this: if I can only figure out how to sleep sooner, then my problem is. Oh, sorry, I want to start with this one. Once I've fallen asleep, I can sleep the rest of the night. It's actually, in my opinion, more true to say, because I'm not trying to sleep after I initially fell asleep. Sleep happens by itself the rest of the night. I'm not trying to force sleep. I'm not afraid of being asleep when it happens later. Therefore, it happens the rest of the night. And if we go back to the other statement, which is, if I can only figure out how to sleep sooner, then my problem is solved. I think it's truer to say, once I'm okay with being awake whenever it happens, there is no problem to be solved or figured out, and sleep will just happen by itself. And that is so important, I think, to see, because oftentimes someone does something and they actually sleep sooner, but they're still scared. So the point here is that sleep is not the cure for insomnia, as odd as that sounds. Even if you find some way that sleep happens sooner and you no longer have sleep onset insomnia, well, if you're still afraid of having that at some other point, or it coming back, or in some shape or form you're still afraid of not sleeping, then you still have insomnia, even if you're sleeping sooner or sleeping more, right? So again, it's when we're okay with being awake, with that no longer scares us, then we're free. Then there's no problem anymore. And how do we arrive there? How do we arrive at a place when we're not afraid of being awake? Well, listening to this video very well may have helped. Maybe you're finding your way on your path to not being scared of not sleeping. However, if things are difficult, if you're struggling, if things feel hopeless, if you feel stuck, if you're longing for that time where you just laid your head back on the pillow and sleep happened and you woke up feeling refreshed, well, know that we can help. We can help you if you're in that place. If you like to join our Insomnia Immunity program with myself, Coach Michelle, you're very welcome. Or if you want to join myself in BedTyme and work one-on-one with myself or Coach Alina or Coach Beth, you're very well welcome. I hope you find everything you need here. But again, if you choose to join, look forward to seeing you on the other side. That's all for today. Hope you have a really nice rest of your day and look forward to having you soon back here soon. Until then, bye.